As fabulous as that music was, I think I'm going to have to go ahead and get started right now. I'm actually going to take just a moment to rearrange my screen so I can get everything on one.
Alexa, I just want to say that I shared a link yesterday, I think that was for my Zoom, and people that are logging in with that link is are coming on as Esperanza Zamora. If you can
Ah,
rename yourself to your uh, preferred name, that would be great. Thank
It's
you.
it's funny because I wonder what Esperanza's up to. She must have like six different cell phones or something. Very funny. Cool. And then Esperanza, if you could help me, I see that Molly Shaw has joined us. So I made her a co-host so that her name is up at the top. And I'm actually kind of scanning the names here. And I'm seeing a few folks from my past. Hi, August. Good to see you here. And some folks that I know from this current quarter. So super nice to see you all. And hi, Finn. Nice to see you again. Yeah, interesting. Oh, but in any case, Esperanza, if you see folks who are supervisors, faculty, other folks, if you could just please make them co-hosts so they go up to the top, I'd really appreciate that. But this is really cool, seeing a bunch of folks that I know from Ed 180, present and past, which is really cool. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm going to go ahead and get started here, and I want to welcome you. My name is Celeste Hilberg, and I am the director of we call it the MAC program, but it's the Masters in the Teaching Credential program here at UC Santa Cruz. And I am going to go ahead and get started, and we will be doing introductions in just a moment. I did want to let you know, however, that this is interesting. Sorry, just getting used to my screen here. What is it doing? Okay, very good. I did want you to let you know that the session is being recorded this evening. And I am going to start with a land acknowledgement, which is very important to us. The land on which we gather here in Santa Cruz is the unceded territory of the Awaswas speaking Yupi tribe, the Amamutsa and Tribal Band, comprised of the descendants of indigenous people taken into missions Santa Cruz and San Juan Bautista during Spanish colonization of the Central Coast, is today working hard to restore traditional stewardship practices on these lands and heal from historical trauma. So I'm very grateful to all of the people who helped put that acknowledgement together and make it available to the rest of us because it really grounds me in what I'm doing and where I am and my position here on the Central Coast. So thank you all. A few nuts and bolts. And Esperanza, did Matt join us yet? I'm betting that he did not.
I haven't seen him.
Okay, no worries. This is kind of a slide that Matt often does, but I'm going to go ahead and take care of it. If you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand, but it actually will go a little bit smoother if you post them over in the chat because we have a couple of folks, Esperanza, who is our coordinator and credential analyst and grad student advisor, is going to be scanning the chat all the time, as is anyone else who's affiliated with our program. We have teacher supervisors, we have faculty, so we can get a lot of the questions answered just exclusively over in the chat. And then also, if you have additional questions, we are going to be doing some breakout rooms a little bit later this evening. And so you're going to have plenty of opportunity to visit one or more breakout room to get more questions answered. Esperanza is going to, at some point, she already put a link to our document where we have our admissions requirements. And in there, we link to our program at a glance documents that show you where, basically by quarter, all of the classes that you will be taking. But we are also linking to a frequently asked questions document as well. And all of that is in our admissions requirement. So Esperanza will put the program at a glance in the chat, but she's also going to um, make it available through the admissions requirements document. And I noticed that she's put it several times over in the chat. Okay, So I'm Celeste Hilberg, Director of Teacher Education here at UC Santa Cruz. I'd like to introduce Esperanza Zamora. Esperanza, could you give a little wave? She is our Master's in Credential Program Coordinator, as well as the Graduate Student Advisor for our Master's in Credential students, as well as being a Certified Credential Analyst for the state of California. Matt will be joining us shortly. We had back-to-back events this evening, and so he is just finishing up the previous event. But he is our program assistant. He's a very great person to go to for all kinds of general questions. So the first thing that we're going to do is tell you a little bit. I'm going to take a roughly half an hour to tell you a little bit about the program, just giving you a very general overview. And then we are going to have a panel of distinguished graduates of our program, fairly new teachers who are going to share with you their experience. And then we're going to be doing breakout rooms. But before I do that, I want to scan to see if there's anyone else that I can introduce this evening. Molly, can you give us a wave? I'm not seeing you on my screen. And as co-host, you should be up at the top. There you are. Okay,
I'm
so
here. Hi,
yeah.
everybody.
So Molly Shaw is the teacher supervisor for our science students, and she teaches a number of our classes as well. She teaches science methods for the multiple subjects candidates, that's the elementary school candidates, and she also teaches the methods course for our single subjects candidates, folks who want to teach science in the middle and the high school as well. She's also, and I noticed I was talking with Sabrina earlier, and Molly also teaches classes with CalTeach. So, Sabrina came to us this evening through CalTeach, so I thought that was a nice connection. So first of all, you should know about what credentials we offer. There are so many credentials that the state of California offers. But here in our credential program, we stick to the basics. We offer a multiple subjects credential, which is typically kindergarten or TK through grade 5. However, it can also be used in the middle grades as long as there is more than one subject taught. So we have a number of our graduates who end up going on to teach grade 6 or 7 or 8 if they're teaching a combined math and science class or a combined English and social science class. And then for the single subjects candidates, those are the people who are teaching in middle school and high school, we offer an English credential, a social science credential that covers history, economics, government, ethnic studies. We offer 2 different mathematics credentials. If you just want to teach up through Algebra 2, you can get our foundational level mathematics credential, or you can get the full credential, which also allows you to teach up through calculus. And then in the sciences, we offer 4 different or 5 different credentials areas or specializations. You can get a credential to teach biology, geoscience, physics, chemistry, or you can get what's called a foundational science credential, which allows you to teach integrated science up through middle school. So before we go any further, I just want to tell you a little bit about what's really important about our program. The mission of our program is to support you to become an educator who can become a teacher leader of equity, social justice, and anti-racism, and a teacher who is dedicated to changing lives for the better. When we are reviewing applications, we're looking for people who share that mission with us. So if that is your passion, please make sure that you let us know in your application to our program. I wanted to talk a little about different components of our program. First of all, we are a 12-month program, and it's a little bit unusual, but in 12 months, you will earn both a master's degree in education as well as a preliminary California teaching credential. All credential programs in California offer a preliminary credential. The only way to get a professional clear credential is to first get your preliminary and then teach for 2 years and participate and complete what's called 2 years of induction. And it's actually, induction is really support during your first 2 years of teaching. But it took me, when I started off, I did a 3-semester credential program that did not come with a master's degree. And then I went back and I did a 2-year master's in education program. So it took me 3.5 years to do what we offer in 12 months. So we are a fast-paced, intense, rigorous program. So if you choose to come to our program, that's just something to keep in mind. We are 5 very intense quarters. So we are, and we're 12 months from beginning to end. We start at the end of July and we finish in the end of July. In the first summer, you will take, it's a 6-week summer program and you will take a full load of classes. But in addition to that, you will also be doing just a small number of hours in a student teaching placement during the summer. In the fall quarter, you then begin a more regular time in your student teaching placement, and you will take a full load of classes. Same with winter. And then in spring, you're actually going to increase the number of hours that you're in your student teaching placement, and you will have fewer classes than in the final summer. While there are a couple of elective classes offered, you will be only taking one class that's offered remotely. A number of our students actually have jobs lined up at that point and they want to move, or they want to maybe move home to save some money. So our final summer is just a single 2-credit class, and that is offered remotely. So the student teaching placements begin in August, and you will stay in either in one placement or possibly 2 different placements, one in the beginning of the year with one change in the middle of the year. And you will stay and through to the end of the year when students actually complete their K-12 classroom. And then so we basically talked about coursework and we talked about student teaching placements. Another component of our program is the Becoming an Educator essay. So this is what you complete as a requirement for the master's degree. And you will be working on that throughout the year in bits and pieces, but then you get your final summer to actually complete that. And in addition to that, one other component of the program that I did not include on this slide is what's called the Teacher Performance Assessment. And this is something that's required of all credential programs in the state of California. The state requires this. In our program, we use the assessment that's called the EdTPA. Some programs use another one called the CalTPA, and there is a third one that's approved. But in any case, we use the EdTPA, and that's an additional component of our program. So we do offer these 2 documents, and we link to them in the admissions requirements document that Esperanza put the link to over in the chat. But she's also going to put a copy of these into the chat so you can download them if you like. But basically, it just lets you know the dates that we will be starting and ending each of the quarters, and it lets you know which classes you will be taking during each of the quarters. So that gives you just basically at a glance an idea of what courses you will be taking. With that, I am now going to turn it over to Esperanza, and she is going to talk to you about some requirements. We call them state requirements because they're required of all credential programs across the state. And she, as our credential analyst, is tasked with the job of making sure that all of our students complete all of these state requirements. And she's going to share those with you.
So I have some good news. In the past, people would have to take a CSET or do coursework evaluations for the basic skills, and now your bachelor's degree will satisfy that. Just that's what satisfies the basic skills requirement now. I could talk a little bit about the subject matter competency requirement, which, because of a law that was recently passed about 3 years now, we're able to use more than just the CSET or a subject matter program. We have different options that we can use, and one of them is college degree, and it's very specific on the degree that you have. For example, multiple subjects can only use a liberal studies degree. Social science, the only one that California will accept is social science. And for English, it's English. And like our university here at UCSC, we have a literature major, so we would have to do a coursework evaluation, which is one of the options to do a coursework evaluation. Or you can take the CSETs. You could take all the CSETs. That's always been one of the options. Or you can mix and match, which would be some folks are able to do some courses, and then they're still missing one of the sections and would take a CSET. to satisfy the subject matter competency. The certificate of clearance, even though some folks in the Ed 180 have gotten their fingerprints, or if you're a sub, you can use your sub permit. Um, or you maybe are a para educator at in one of the districts, you would still need to do a certificate of clearance. It would be super important. And our admissions requirement for document that I've been sharing has all the information that you would need to do, but step by step on what needs to be done. You would need to get a live scan. You would also need to create yourself an account for the certificate of clearance and pay for the certificate of clearance on the CTC website. And our document that we have, the admissions requirement, has all the details for that. I have some questions. What about double majors like history and CRES? Unfortunately, double majors like history and CRES may have courses that you've already taken in social science, but neither one of those are degrees that the commission will accept. They only at this time are accepting social science degrees. And I have seen two of them in my work that have degrees in social science. Certificate, I already did certificate of clearance. And then I had some more questions here for feminist studies. Um, that would, for the I'm sorry, someone has a question about feminist studies major. Would English or social science be easiest? I would have to look at your coursework that you've done for me to do a review on it and to let you know um, which one would be, uh, unless you want to take the CSETs, right? The CSETs always work. Um, let's see. And the slides are going to be available later. Was there any other? I think the history major folks, we could look at coursework to see if you have courses that you've taken in the history. And sometimes some of our history folks have taken most of the history courses, and sometimes they have to do the last CSET for the social science.
Just in general, I would just say a tip when you're thinking about how to meet the subject matter requirement. If there is an exact name match between your degree and the credential you want to get, then you have met it. So, bam, you're done. If that's not the case, then I think the very next thing you should do is complete one of Esperanza's subject matter guidance forms to see how well the courses you've taken might match up with the different subtests that you're required to take. And then after you try to complete that subject matter guidance form to the best of your ability, then you would meet with Esperanza and she can talk you through the rest of it and help you come up with a plan to meet it. Oftentimes, students can meet it either through degree or through coursework. Sometimes they might need to take just one of the required 3 subtests or possibly 2. So just, in terms of or a sequence of events, first check your degree, then use the guidance form to check the coursework, then meet with Esperanza and she'll help you figure out the rest.
Yeah,
Awesome.
definitely.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Oftentimes people ask us what is the cost of the program. In general, you'll be paying for 1 full-time summer quarter, and the summer charges per credit. And then you're paying for 3 full-time quarters during the school year, and then a final summer quarter. Now, the university does change the amount of tuition and fees a little bit each year. And so we don't know, we can't anticipate whether or not that will be the case, but we have never seen a major jump in tuition and fees. So what we'd like to do is provide you with the cost right now now for the 25-26 school year. All 5 quarters added together, just tuition and fees is $29,468. Now, if you happen to be on somebody else's insurance, say your parents or a partner, then you can save a good portion of that. Around $7,000 of this $29,468 goes for the mandatory student health insurance. So if you can get a waiver, then you can save that amount of money. But something that's really important to know is that, financial aid is always of interest to everyone. And so it's important that you submit 2 different FAFSAs, one for the current school year, 25-26, because your first summer is considered part of the 25-26 school year. And then you're going to submit a second FAFSA for 26-27 because the remainder of the program is considered part of the 26-27 school year. If you are currently an undergraduate and you've already completed the FAFSA for 25-26, you do not need to complete another one. So you've done that part already. Okay, something that we do want everyone to know about is that if you currently receive Cal Grant A or Cal Grant B, then Cal Grant does offer a 5th year of funding that is only for people going into a teaching credential program. They do not offer a 5th year for any other graduate studies. And if you're a Cal Grant A recipient, this year students receive $14,934 and Cal Grant B recipients received $16,582. So you can see that the Cal Grant covers a good portion of that. Also, another good piece of legislation is that Governor Newsom just signed a law and they're working out the kinks right now, but students in the future are going to be paid $10,000 for student teaching. In the past, when you do your student teaching, it's just considered a part of your training and that you do not get compensated for. We don't know how it's going to work. We only know that the state of California is giving the money to one of the county offices. I believe it's the Kern County Office of Education, and that they're figuring out a way to administer this. I'm a little confused by it, but I think that a number of us are likely to end up getting that $10,000 next year, if not everyone. It's just that the way they're going about it, it looks like they're, instead of giving the money to the university or to the credential program, they're actually giving the money to school districts to distribute. So I find that a little confusing, but it's another possibility that's on the horizon for next year. Something else that I want to make a plug for is that we have a number of teacher residency grants that we have in partnership with various districts. So we have a partnership with Santa Cruz City Schools, a partnership with Salinas Union High School District, and a partnership with Pajaro Valley Unified School District. A teacher residency program basically means instead of having 2 placements, a beginning placement and then a change to an intermediate advanced placement, you will have one student teaching placement for the entire year. You oftentimes, as a residency teacher, have opportunities to participate in additional activities at the school that you might not have otherwise, such as when they put on a training for teachers, a professional development, you might be invited to come. Sometimes our student teachers are invited to those as well, but not necessarily. But basically, you're working in partnership with that teacher for the duration of the year. And it's really a wonderful way to step into the teaching profession, is to have the mentorship of one teacher for the entire year. Molly Shaw, along with one of our other teacher supervisors, Sumita Jagger, put on trainings for all of the mentor teachers to support them to better support you as a residency teacher. But if you are selected, and these are competitive grants, meaning we might have 20 people that apply and 4 people that are selected. This isn't something like the Cal Grant where everyone who applies or who qualifies will get it. These are competitive. And you do need to, if you're selected, you will get paid, and I'll tell you how much in just a minute. You'll get paid for your student teaching or your residency teaching, but you also need to commit to work in the residency district for 4 years if they have an opening. So that's always a big if, but if they have the need and they select you, then you will get to work there for 4 years. And you don't need to worry about it right now, but we wait until our applications close on February 3rd, and then I email everyone who is eligible to apply. And I'll tell you who is eligible to apply in just a moment on the next slide. Basically, with Santa Cruz City Schools, they were awarded 4 grants for the 26-27 school year, and so that means they are going to select 4 different students in our program to become residency teachers, and they will get paid the sum of $34,500. But basically, they pay that out in installments over 10 months. Same with Salinas Union High School District, except they pay a little bit more. You'll get $40,000. The focus for those 2 districts is on people who are applying to be single subject math and science teachers because that's where their need is. And they're trying to find teachers and support teachers to help them meet their needs for qualified teachers. But they're also, if you happen to be local from this area or if you happen to be bilingual, those are other criteria. They're not requirements. Those are just other priorities that those districts have. And then for Pajaro Valley Unified School District, they have 3 grants each year, and their focus is all single subject candidates. The first year, because their need was in math and science, they chose math and science candidates. And in the second year, this year, they chose all English and social sciences candidates to become residency teachers. Again, they are prioritizing anyone who might have a connection to the district or the region, and they also prioritize anyone who might be fluent in or bilingual in Spanish. So we are going to be putting on 3 different application workshops, and we will be giving you much more information at those about these teacher residency grants. And I will also, when I invite people to apply, I will be sending out more information as well. If Sumita is Sumita here by any chance? I don't think she's here yet, but I wanted to give a plug. And I think that one of the students who was here was mentioning this class, but Sumita is teaching in the winter quarter. If you're thinking that you want to get a credential in math, she just wants you to know that she's offering this class, Education 185B. It's called Introduction to Mathematics Education, and she just wanted to let folks know that this is being offered in winter, and she invites you to join her in that classroom. And maybe Esperanza, would you mind putting Sumita's email, sjagger, over in the chat in case anyone wants to contact her if they have any questions about the class? So basically, our application is already open. You can start your application now. It's due on February 3rd. We're going to have 3 different application workshops. Our first one is going to be Wednesday, December 3rd from 4:15 to 5:15. We will have another on Tuesday, December 16th, 4:30 to 5:30. And then a third one on Thursday, January 8th from 4:30 to 5:30. And honestly, we're pretty flexible. If you can't make any of these, give Esperanza and I, shoot us an email. We're happy to meet with you one-on-one. I can let you know when my office hours are, or we're actually happy to offer more sessions. I'm actually going to be going to a couple of other classes that are being taught this quarter to put on a little information session as well. So we will find a way to help you put together your application because we know it's quite onerous to do. So please do visit our admissions requirements. So to find it on our website, first of all, Esperanza's been putting the link over in the chat repeatedly. You can also get to it by this QR code that we have right here, or you can go to the website for the Masters in the Teaching Credential Program, and it's not at the top, but if you scroll all the way to the bottom of the page, you'll see a link down at the bottom that says admissions and application requirements, and that will take you to our document. We try to make it really user-friendly and give you more details than you can get by going to the graduate division. With that, we are going to I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to take a look and see who's here. And we have put together an amazing, distinguished panel of graduates of our program. They will introduce themselves, but we do have Catalina Sutter, who graduated in 2024. She with science. She also obtained her bilingual authorization. Kent Harlow is with us, Alex Fuller, Virginia Moda, Selena Jimenez, Trevor Semper, and then Stemper rather, and then Jocelyn Espinoza Mendoza. So let me stop sharing screen and I'm going to make sure that everybody is up at the top of the screen so everybody can see you. Very good. And I am also going to go ahead and grab the little information that I sent to you about what we're hoping that you will share. So basically, they're all going to share with you a little bit about themselves, and then we're going to open it up for questions and answers. And I'm sorry, I have to move this screen over here so I'm looking right at you. So with that, I'm just going to go with the first person that I see on my screen. And sorry, Trevor, it's you. Welcome. Nice to see you. I haven't seen you in a few months. Thank you for coming tonight. And take it away. Do you want me to put over in the chat? I think I'm just going to make it available to everybody. Oh, Trevor, I'm not getting any audio. Can you hear him? No, we're not hearing you. Nobody's hearing you. Well, sorry.
How about now?
Oh, yeah.
Success.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, are we going through the questions 1, 2, 3? Am I answering all three, or am I just introducing myself and then moving on to the next person?
All
The first
three.
question.
All three, please.
Dealio. Sorry, there's people in the background of Zoom as always. My name is Trevor Stemper. I did do my undergrad degree here at UCSC. I did my undergrad in history before joining into the program. And then in the program, I pursued a history credential, social science credential. And so I am currently teaching social science as well as English at a charter school down in Watsonville Charter School of the Arts. It's a great school. I love it there. And question 2, briefly describe your educational career trajectory. What inspired you to go into the teaching profession? Great question. So what inspired me to go into teaching? I think I just had some really great teachers in high school that really made academia a place that's safe for me. I know I had one teacher in high school that stood up to a couple friends. We were having lunch in their class one day, and one of my friends pretty much told me straight to my face if I ever came out as gay, that they would stop talking to me. And I just remember my teacher getting up and shutting that down. And I think stemming from that, we did a lot of reflection on the reasons why we joined the program. So it's been a lot of reflecting coming up with this. So I think through that, I have just always really felt safe in school, as well as specifically the history classroom. So that's where I kind of gravitated towards education, just because I think I want to be able to provide that safe space for my students and students like me in the future. And then my experiences in the MAC program. I absolutely loved the MAC program. I would gladly do it again if I needed to. Thank goodness I don't, because even though I loved it, it is a lot of stress. It definitely gets more as you're going through. With the Ed TPA is the big capstone of the school year, the big capstone of the program, and it is a lot of work. You're talking about it the entire time in the program and prepping for it. So it's coming. However, it is still a lot of work when it gets to you at the end of the school year. That being said, most of my friends still are from the master's program. they're in the background. We're having Survivor Nights still. This started in the master's program. I'm here tonight for Survivor Nights. It's been going on for like 3 years strong now. Every Wednesday. It's awesome. So you build the community. And that really comes into play once you get out of the program and are, in the classroom teaching every day. I feel like you really need the community to support you. Survivor Night turns more into, oh, this is problems I'm having in the classroom. Like, are you experiencing that? How would you fix that? And so it's just, I think my favorite thing about the credential program, like it's a great program. I love the professors. The professors, I still talk to some of the professors. Case in point, Celeste invited some of us to come and speak. But I think that my real takeaway from the program is just the community that you build while you're in the program that sticks with you even afterwards, because that's really what got me through the program and is getting me through my first couple years of teaching. I think that's most of
That's it. That's it. Thank you so much, Trevor. Appreciate it. And let's pass the baton over to Alex Fuller. Welcome, Alex. Super good to see you. I ran into Alex and Selena down at Trader Joe's the other day. So it's really cool to run into all these folks that have been in our program. Welcome. Take it away, Alex. I don't think we can hear you, Alex. Am I the only person here, or do we have another audio issue?
I also can't hear.
No audio yet.
Hello.
I got it. You're here.
Sweet. Hello, my name's Alex. I got my undergrad degree from UCSC in science education. And I currently teach at Soquel High School, and I teach physics and chemistry. Yeah. And then my educational career trajectory, right out of like college, kind of, I was tutoring and like I was hearing from parents that they were like, oh, you're like really patient and I feel like you'd make a great teacher, and I never thought about teaching. Um, then I came to UCSC and got my undergrad in science education, heard about the MAC program, and I was like, "Ooh, I think this is something that I want to do. It makes me happy, so I'm gonna go for it." And yeah, so then I did the credential program. It was really stressful, really tough, like Trevor just said, but like had a bunch of people and professors around me that support you through the tough work that you're doing. Um, but I really think that the program like gave me a lot of like it really felt like I was supported in finding strategies to be successful in my first couple of years of teaching now. Um, and I just really think the professors are there to help you, and like reaching out to them, they help me so much, and I'm like super thankful for everything that they've done for me. The big essay at the end, the capstone project that Trevor was talking about, it is a lot of work, but it's very doable, I feel like, in my opinion. Especially with all the support like around you. I guess you just have to reach out. But that's my little tidbit.
Wonderful. Thank you, Alex. I appreciate that. Next, I see Selena. Welcome, Selena.
Hello, can you guys hear me? All right, awesome. All right, so hi, my name is Selena Jimenez. I use she, her pronouns, and I currently teach biology and IB biology here at Harbor up here in Santa Cruz. So I also did my undergrad degree at UCSC. My degree was primarily in marine biology, but it is biology. And then through that, I heard about CalTeach, which Celeste mentioned earlier. I was able to do an internship through that, and that was kind of my first experience in the classroom that I got to have. And through that, I ended up finding out about the MAC program here at UCSC, and I was like, let me apply for it. Got in, which was super sick. And yeah, so again, my first experience in the classroom was through CalTeach. I knew like I wanted to be a teacher, just not like right away. I thought I was going to be like 35 years old when I'd become a teacher. I'm not that old yet. But then COVID hit, everyone was there. So I just continued working with that. I also worked with underprivileged youth from Oakland at a summer camp that was like meant to like bridge that education gap. And I just before I applied to the program, I took like a couple years off before undergrad and applying for my master's, worked at an elementary school, had several parents telling me that like, you know, maybe you should go into teaching. I'm like, I'm gonna do just that. So I applied, got in, and honestly, like Trevor and Alex both said, I had a really great experience in the program. The best thing that I got out of it definitely was the community. Like we all still see each other and hang out every so often. And yeah, we bump into Celeste every now and then, going grocery shopping. But I do feel like the program has made me really reflect on how I want to be a teacher and how I can represent like students of color in the classroom, because I think that's something that we talked a lot about in the program, like anti-racist teaching, just kind of those bits of or little bits of topics. And being a person of color in Santa Cruz is, especially like teaching as a person of color in Santa Cruz, is really meaningful to that smaller population or demographic here. And I have found it to be very rewarding, and it really does mean a lot to those students. So having somebody in the classroom that does reflect who they are is really impactful and meaningful to them. So I'm here for those students, and it's been really nice so far. So second year, enjoying it, way better than the first year. And yeah, that's my spiel.
Thank you, Selena. I'm just so happy to see you and so happy to know that you're just thriving. And here you are, this person, not even 35 yet, as you say. You have your credential and your career. Super exciting. So I'm going to pass the baton now over to Kent. Welcome. Kent, somebody else I run into once in a while. I think we live a whopping 2 blocks from each other.
I think that's true, and perfect transition because wow, I'm 35 and a teacher. Hooray. So my name's Kent. I use he, him pronouns. I'm originally from upstate New York, and as I'm an older person going back into school, I always wanted to teach. It was something I was always interested in. And I worked in outdoor education and environmental education, as well as a bunch of other jobs. I actually got a wildlife biology degree from the University of New Hampshire in 2013. My partner's from Santa Cruz, and we moved out here a couple years ago and went through the program. So, Trevor, I'm jealous because I've actually been slacking on Survivor, and my partner and her mom both tell me I need to get on it. And they're like, all right, when can you pop back in? And I was a Survivor devotee. I will say the program is great. I think something to be very real with you about is that it's a tough time to be a teacher. It's never necessarily been easy, but for me, as going back to school and being an older person, connecting with a new community, doing something I always wanted to do, and it really is important just to be able to explore and learn and grow in all these ways for you and for your students. The more genuine you are, the more that you know yourself, you connect with yourself, the better you'll do. And I think that's one of the strengths of this program is that it really having those people there in the program, whether it's your fellow cohort or the folks who are instructors, teaching is so relative. It can change depending on who you are, where you are, and otherwise. And going through all those ups and downs, you want those supports, but also just recognizing a lot of the forces at work. I mean, I really enjoyed from the program that you're getting this really multi-layered perspective. I mean, societal, racial, class, all these things do come into the fold. So there's interesting stuff from the theory end and then the on the ground end, depending on where you are too. And yeah, I'm glad I did it. That's if that's anything. So I was a science teacher last year, and then due to budget cuts, was not renewed, and that was really hard time. To be frank, first year is take care of yourself, mental health, have your cohort around you, all those good things. I ran into Celeste, who said, "Do you want to be a math teacher?" And I said, "All right, we'll give it a shot." So I've actually been up in the mountains a little bit from Santa Cruz, and it's been great so far. So that relativity is very important. The different school may not be the best fit for you and otherwise, but there's going to be a place where you can make those contributions. Even talking to folks who've gone into environmental and outdoor ed back in there, it's been incredible for them too. Like, hey, I've had this new perspective on these students and these people I'm getting, and it's served me in my life and otherwise. So I'd encourage you, if it's something you're interested in, definitely apply at the very least and pursue it. But yeah, hopefully that's the spiel. Yeah.
That was an awesome spiel, Ken. I forget how much I adore your giggle. I'm going to call it a giggle, not a laugh. And I just feel like once in the Mac family, always in the Mac family. So just, always stay in touch with us as well, and your survival people as well. So now I'm going to pass the baton over to Jocelyn. She is a graduate from a few years ago. A number of these other people were from the last year or two. So welcome, Jocelyn. I always love hearing from Jocelyn because she just inspires me with some of the very bold things that she does in her teaching.
Hi, all. Can you hear me? Okay, great. I'm Jocelyn Espinosa. I teach out in San Jose. I finished the MAC program in 2021, so during the pandemic. It's my 5th year teaching. I teach American literature, and I teach Avid 4 for anybody that's familiar with that program. And this year, we were able to, a fellow colleague of mine that teaches US history, we were able to create a cohort program in our school called Critical American Studies, where we take English and history and align our curriculums through a decolonized lens. And it's been a real hit. It's been our 2nd year in motion, but this year we got to name it. And let me see, I'm reading my script. I have my undergraduate degree in English and in Chicano Studies. That's just what we called it back then. And I went to UC Davis, so I am typical outlier because I went to a different school for undergrad. But growing up in San Jose, I always wanted to be a slug. I was actually there today for a field trip. I took my Avid kids, so I'm wearing my stuff. Let's see. I teach at Silver Creek High School. Been there my whole 5 years, and it's in the same district that I went to high school in, so very near and dear to my heart. Which brings me to my educational trajectory, why I wanted to go into teaching. Growing up in the States, very multicultural.
Did I freeze or did Virginia freeze?
Looks like it was her. I'm not hearing her anymore.
Back.
She's back. Okay,
Yes.
awesome.
Yeah, yes. Okay, so sorry, picking up. So I grew up in San Jose, very multicultural area. But growing up, I had really wonderful teachers, but there wasn't a lot of reflection for my culture. And the biggest thing for me was that none of my teachers could have a conversation with my parents. So getting older, especially in the high school area, it just started to become more apparent to me. So my college advisor at the time invited me to come teach at a middle school the summer before I went to college. In a similar population, I was working in East Palo Alto. She was like, I just want to see if you like are passionate about this, because teaching is not something that you just kind of roll into. And I really loved it. It was really special because all of our staff were people of color, different backgrounds, and all of them had or were currently obtaining a bachelor's degree. And that was a really big deal for the kids, and it was a really big deal for me. So I went on doing English, but I also found ethnic studies. So I was like, maybe I'll be an ethnic studies teacher. But as we know, not a lot of schools offer that. So in my practice of becoming an English teacher, that's where I found incorporating ethnic studies into my English curriculum. and working on, teaching other teachers how to do that regardless of the subject matter. But the MAC program was really supportive because of the cultural and linguistic diversity portion of it all. I felt really supported, and I felt really like heard for the first time in the type of educator that I wanted to be, because I feel like there's like a mold that a lot of teachers are expected to fit. Like I always tell my kids, if you Google what a teacher looks like, it's not gonna pop up a person that looks like me. So kind of like an encouragement to try different things regardless of what the idea of it looks like. And I still, like a lot of folks, I still connect with the MAC program all the time, working with Celeste or working with Dr. Pham. And it really keeps me on my toes because it keeps me accountable for the things that I've said that I've wanted to do in my journey as an educator. But it also keeps me sharp, I think, because I like to continue to learn, continue to try new things, and develop who I am, not just as an educator, but as a human being.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming here today. And now we're going to pass the baton over to Catalina Sutter, who is zooming in from Southern California. Thank you. Welcome, Catalina.
Hi, thank you for having me. So my name is Catalina. I also went to UC Santa Cruz for my undergrad. Um, Pronouns they, she, they. I don't really care. But I did go to UCSC for my undergrad. I got a BA in environmental studies and biology. And I enjoy playing rugby. That's what my picture is. Everyone always knows me as that. It's like my icebreaker. And I got into teaching not on accident, but my mom's a teacher. She's going on like year 30 or 31 or something. And it was always a joke growing up that I wasn't allowed to be a teacher because of how hard it was and how underpaid they are. And my mom's still there. So begs a question. Anyway, at some point when I was like in my third or fourth year, I kept getting this email that was like, oh, you can get some of your master's in education paid for, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep this in the back of my mind. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do when I graduate. And then my mom kept asking me, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And I told her about that. And she's like, well, do you want to do that? And I'm like, well, I don't know. And I've always worked with kids. I've always volunteered in my mom's classroom. I was a camp counselor. I've just always been surrounded by kids. I'm like a go-to babysitter for a lot of my family. So I was like, okay, I think I need to try this. I think I could bring a lot to the table as someone who is neurodivergent with ADHD and who had those struggles growing up and being a student. With that perspective, similar to what other people have said, being a person of color as a teacher, didn't have a lot of those. I had a few, but not a lot, as well as to advocate for a lot of multilingual learners. My dad is first generation American, or first generation. I'm first generation American because my dad is an immigrant. And he came here not knowing any English as a refugee from the Civil War in El Salvador. So just hearing his experiences, I didn't enjoy that. And my partner as well, who grew up only speaking Spanish and now can't even understand or speak it because they lost it all from school. So there's no honoring like culture and language and like intertwining the two. So I wanted to just advocate for students in that way. And I do that. I had to do that this past week and advocate for one of my students' schedules. But that's how I ended up here. And oh, I probably should have said, yeah, I currently work at a charter school in Compton in LA. I used to work for LAUSD. That was quite the experience. And this program helped a lot with last year and this year and just forming my teaching. Similar to what everyone said, like there's this perspective of just learning about not only like how to teach, but like why the system is the way it is. And it's very informative and it's always present. Something my mom always says is half the battle of teaching is the politics. And it really is true, like all the things you have to go through in order to do something simple or just to advocate for students or things that just don't feel right. And it's all part of like a broken system. And you learn more about that in this program. There's tons of support, there's tons of help. And this program is like nice and small, so it doesn't feel like there's so many people and you can't get access to anyone or help. But you really can, and relying on everybody as well. Like you're not in it alone. Everybody is struggling as much as you are. And then yeah, the community you built. I obviously don't live up north anymore, so I don't talk to people as much because I'm really bad about staying in contact. But they're all still my friends, and I still miss them very much. But yeah, like the program is what you make of it. It's just like college, just like any experience. Like you go in there, you know what you want, and the more effort you put in, the more you're gonna get out. And the more opportunities you pursue, the more you're gonna get out of those as well. But I did feel 100% prepared to teach as a teacher immediately after this program. And yeah, I don't know if this is a testimonial or not, but this past year I was at a school where we were having like fights every day. Students were hitting administrators and support staff, and I was still able to navigate that without ever myself having some sort of incident with students, and still having students respect me. And I was still able to educate those students. So that goes to show that like this program prepared me to do something like that, which says a lot in my opinion. Yeah.
Thank you, Catalina. I always appreciate hearing from you. All these words of wisdom, really appreciate it. Yeah, and then last but not least, we have Virginia Moda. And for some reason, Virginia, I'm guessing maybe you don't have your camera on, but you're not popping up on my screen. So where are you? There you are. Okay, that's why I thought so. Welcome. Good to see you.
Likewise, can you guys hear me? Okay, perfect. So my name is Virginia Mota. I went to UCSC for my undergrad. I did that in 2018. Feels like yesterday, but it's been quite some years. And then my undergrad, it was Spanish with a focus in linguistics and Latin American Latino studies. Um, so kind of like what someone said, I heard of the math program afterwards. I wasn't sure. I saw the requirements and I'm like, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not, it's going to be too much for me, especially having two little ones at the time. So I'm like, okay, maybe it's this little um, my parents
Hey, Virginia, I think you're cutting
if
in
it's
and out. So maybe, I hate to say it, but maybe turn off your camera.
just do it. Where think that can happen to know. Is me?
I actually have an idea, Virginia. I'm trying to find you in the chat. Here's my phone number. Why don't you call? Oh, you know my number. Call me. And
Yes, can you guys hear me?
now I can hear you perfectly.
Okay,
Yes.
I'll just have my camera off, just
Okay.
hopefully that makes it
Perfect.
better. So like I was saying, I was hesitant to apply for the program since at that time I was a single mom with two little ones. So I was like, maybe it's not the time to, start this program that seems very rigorous and very challenging and fast paced. But my parents told me, they're like, if it's in your head, just do it. The worst thing that can happen is no, and you try again. So I decided to go with it. From day one, I already knew that this is what I wanted to do. um, Celeste was super supportive with my application. I told her, you know what, this is not in my budget. As like I said, as a single parent having 2 kids, commuting, this is not what I can afford right now. She was really honest and told me there's different ways you can get through this program if you really want to and have are you going to put the work into it. So we started looking at different grants, different scholarships, and I can say I ended up paying a total of less than 3,000 for my whole program. So it was I she helped me some way or another. We were able to get grant scholarships here and there, and I was able to finance my school and continue working to support my household. Um, so right now, I'm currently working at Alianza Charter School in Watsonville. I've been a second grade teacher there for 5 years. This is my first year as a sixth grade teacher. So I was actually working while I was in the program. Um, so it's been an awesome experience. I did my student teaching there as well. So now those teachers I looked up to, they're now my colleagues, and I'm still learning a lot from them. And it was quite the way to go in terms of like, I didn't even know, living in Watsonville, I didn't even have those connections with Alianza Charter. And then after being a student teacher there, I started building connections with the principal, who then later on told me, "Hey, you want to teach here? We have you can be a substitute, a long-term sub while you're in your program." It worked out, so I was a seventh grade sub at that time. Then went on to second grade and was in second for quite a while. And now this is my first year as a sixth grade teacher, which I'm enjoying so far. It was time for me to have, you know, a different lens in terms of education lens. We're K 8th school, so I'm still with the same teachers, same principal, same everything. It's just learning that's a new subject. Um, what else? Let me see. Again, the relationships I built in terms of my best friend was doubled my age, and then another one was closer to my age. So we were all living through different experiences, talking about the challenges, doing the late night studies, studying at McHenry Library, phone calls, video Zooms, all these things. And knowing that we were in the program together, passing each other notes, giving each other um, texts here and there of like, you can do it. Remember this assignments due. So building those community groups that I still talk to, I still run into many of them. It's very, very something super valuable that I took from the program. The professors going to their office hours, extending their office hours just because some of us were still there, even though they still don't need to get their stuff down, was so meaningful knowing that I was more than just a student. It made it seem like I was part of their family. Um, was amazing. I still talk to Celeste, to Johnny, to a lot of these professors who I still look up to, and I'm sure, yeah, they're an email away from me and always willing to answer questions. The program itself, I feel it helped me become the teacher I am today, being that supportive teacher. I really wanted to get into teaching because, like Jocelyn said, I wanted to have more. I wanted my students to have more teachers that look like them and represent them. So now, when I have students, even on those hard times when I'm like, oh, teaching is so hard. A lot of things that are changing in terms of our government, in terms of testing, administration, or even student behaviors here and there. Today was one of those days that I remembered why I'm a teacher. So one of my students who gave me a hard time last year in second grade, he came up to me and he gave me a bunny. He's like, "Teacher, I wanted to give this to you." And I'm like, I just wanted to like burst out in tears. And I'm like, "Are you sure it's for me?" He's like, "Yes, I bought it especially for you because I know this is your favorite color. And you talk about bunnies and you read us this story and blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, he was actually paying attention while I was reading the story. So for me, things like that, I'm like, okay, he's the student who's there in my classroom. Even though I don't teach second grade, I'm second grade anymore. I'm in sixth grade. He's always there. He's always peeking out if I'm there in the mornings, or even my students who I have an open door policy. I'm telling them, by law, you guys, I can't take your recess away or your lunch away. So if the principal walks in, you guys are all aware that you guys are here because you guys want to have lunch here. You're not obligated to be here, right? And they're like, yes. And then I have teachers who tell me, well, what do you have like lunch detention? I'm like, I don't. They just want to be here. I mean, I have like a room full of 20 students, and I'm like, I might as well just give class already because I have like 20 out of my 32 students already here. And no matter how much I count down, I'm like, guys, I really need to go home. And they're still there. But teacher, let me tell you about my weekend. And I'm like, okay, how about you write me an email, or we can talk about it tomorrow because I really have an appointment I need to go to. But it's just being that teacher that they need. And sometimes I pause and I'm like, okay, maybe these kiddos don't have someone to talk to at home, or don't feel safe, don't feel comfortable. Some of them have a different household environment. It's not the ideal, like, I go home to mom and dad, to this wonderful environment where they're all listening to me. They all care about me. Um, so those things that I'm always like thinking in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, like this kiddo comes in hungry all the time. Did he eat breakfast? Does he have food at home? Things like that. Then I'm like, okay, I want to have a positive and just an environment where they can come to every day. And I feel the program itself send the lens for me. Then I'm like, okay, this is why I want to be a teacher. This is what the program helped shape Miss Mota to the educator she is today. So sorry, I think I went overboard.
You did not go overboard. You were all really awesome. I really appreciate it. And I think just to be a little bit expedient, rather than asking people to raise their hands, first of all, thank you. That was really amazing. You all inspired me, and you made me think about so much about our program. I know people are asking, how small are we? Our smallest program has been 42 students. Our largest program has this year actually 69 students. So we range somewhere in between every year. And when we talk about a cohort, we can have a cohort as small as 4 or 5 students, maybe a year when we have only 4 or 5 math students or 4 or 5 English students. But we've had cohorts as big as 39 students. I know Esperanza said something like 34, but I believe one year we had 39 in our multiple subjects. So it varies every year. But so it would be really great if folks have questions for our new teacher panelists. That is going to be for Catalina, for Jocelyn, for Alex, for Selena, Trevor, Kent, and Virginia. If you put your questions over in chat, then I'm going to let them go ahead and take a look and just pick questions that you think are important to respond to. And then let's just do it that way. So questions over in chat. Yeah, Jocelyn says that her cohort was an English cohort of 6. That's really awesome. And can anyone beat that? Anyone have a smaller cohort? But yes, definitely the relationships that you make while you're here in the program, both with your peers, but as well as with the rest of us, faculty and staff, are pretty solid, pretty awesome. So I'm seeing that there's some comments over here, possibly some questions. Yeah, so let's start talking about it. So people want to know about the student teaching experience. Can someone chat about that? One of our panelists, please.
I can talk about that. Okay. So at the beginning of the year, they give you a survey and they ask like what you're looking for, subjects, things like very specific. Well, the form just asks general things, but I recommend you be as specific as possible. For example, I knew I wanted it at least student teaching a marine bio class as a science person, because I love marine biology. All my students know my favorite animal is a fish. And I got that experience. And then they just match you based off what you want. If you know you want to work more towards middle school, they'll put you in a longer middle school placement. But they'll match you based off personality, subject, distance as well. Like they're not going to put you somewhere an hour away if you don't have a car, right? They're going to accommodate everything like that. For example, I had a moped and I did not know how to drive. And Molly said, if you want to do marine bio, you have to go to Aptos. And I said, okay. And I learned how to drive and I got a car, which was inevitable, but the program did expedite that process for me. And then I was supposed to student teach in Watsonville. It didn't end up happening. But point is, they'll work within like your constraints. But that's how they figure it out. As well as if something's not working, you need to vocalize that early on because they want to make sure you get the most out of the experience and they can switch you as well.
I'm just going to add a little bit more into what Catalina said. I was in the multiple subjects. So for us, it was relatively the same. The only difference was that for placements, you get placed in the lower grades. And then for the second placement, it was the higher grades or vice versa, wherever you feel comfortable in for your 2 weeks of solo teaching. That's where, so if you feel more comfortable with lower grades for your solo, then you would do that for your second placement versus your first, since your second placement is where you do more of the student teaching like you by yourself versus the first placement was more of you watching and doing a lesson here and there. So it varies. You do lower grades and then higher grades. That's the only difference between for the multiple subjects. And then now that I'm here, I'm just going to talk a little bit quick about the financial. I was able to work while in the program. So it was a lot of time management. And again, having my little ones was even more tough. But having that support in that village really helps a lot. Support in terms of my like students here at UCSC and then support at home as well. It was just a matter of pacing myself and knowing like if assignments due in 2 weeks, I would try to get it done before then so I can have more time to do something else or focus on placement or focus on this. A lot of things that helped a lot was just jotting notes in terms of the big capstone essay that you have to do at the end. I would start annotating since one of my professors mentioned that like start annotating now is never too early to start. So quotes here that that I would think were meaningful or that represent me as an educator, I would jot them down and start a list. So at the end, when I had to do my capstone, that really helped a lot because I already had some resources, some readings I did, a lot of things I can cite for evidence of who am I as an educator. Sorry, one last thing I'm going to say, is that a lot of my coworkers are still getting their masters, even though they've been teaching for quite a while. So that helps them in terms of the pay scale. So a lot of them were like, hey, have you done your master's? And I'm like, yeah, I did my master's. I did it with my teaching credential. And they're like, where? And I'm like, UCSC. And they're like, oh, I went to Monterey Bay or I did San Jose. So they're going back. So I feel like now that they're fully in the classroom is even more difficult now that teaching's been changing all the time and they're getting evaluated not just by their professors, but getting evaluated by administration and doing their so it's a lot for a lot of them. And now that they have, kids, they have after school program or they have to prepare curriculum. So I feel like that's the big advantage of UCSC, that you are getting your master's and your teaching credential at the same time. And by the time you apply for those jobs, you're higher in the pay scale in terms of columns.
Awesome. Thank you, Virginia. I appreciate that. So because we have to move on to the next component of our program, what I'm going to do is I'm going to scan through each of our panelists and let you scan the questions that are in the chat. There are a number of things that you might want to answer. So we're just going to do one more round so everybody can have some final words. So Trevor, what are your final words and what do you want to say in response to some of the questions over in the chat?
There's so many questions in the chat and so many of them are great questions. Financially, it is scary, but it is definitely doable and it is so much better to, I feel like, experience the program than try to be in the program and have a job. I was thinking of trying to TA well in the program and I am so glad I didn't in that second quarter. of the program because I would have crashed and burned. The program is a lot. It is doable, but it is doable if it is what you are focusing on and you are not focusing on a job. As much as the money, extra money would be nice, it is kind of worth, I think, taking out maybe some loans or the Golden State grant. I know I got the Golden State grant. That's a great option. And I don't know, during our year, it was 20,000 off, and that takes care of like the tuition for the program in itself. And then you just got to worry about housing, which in the area is crazy, but that's part of life. And then loans or whatever else you need to do to survive there. Housing wise, housing in the area is expensive and can be crazy, but you just got to find a spot. I feel like, especially in the program, you are out of the house a lot. You're always at class, student teaching, or hopefully hanging with your cohort. So if you find a small spot, grad housing on campus is great, or just a small spot downtown, anywhere works. Just try to find a spot where you can survive, because you are not going to be there a whole bunch unless you really like doing homework at home. Then you can do a lot of homework in your small apartment. But that's a great place for the library as well. I think those are most of my closing thoughts in the 100 questions that popped up. Let's pass it on.
Thank you, Trevor. You don't have to answer them all, but I do appreciate you trying to answer them all. But honestly, everybody, though, that we're going to be doing breakouts in smaller groups, and so you'll have a chance for even more questions then. But Selena, do you have any closing words for us?
Yeah. So like people keep saying, like, yes, the program is a lot, but it is very doable as long as you make use of the community around you, stay in contact with your cooperating teachers, with the faculty that makes up the MAC program. You will get through it. It will it will be hard, but you will get through it. Financially, like, yes, it is kind of a burden sometimes, but as long as you utilize like all your resources, scholarships, sign up for CalFresh, they pay for your groceries, like, you will make it through. And if, like people said, if you are struggling financially, they will help you. Like, you will not be alone in this. But yeah, stay on top of your work, stick to the deadlines. If you decide to come here, it will make all the difference in the world. But yeah, that's my spiel.
Thank you, Selena. How about you, Alex?
I saw some questions that I want to answer. Someone asked about like how often do the subject cohorts like interact, and like single subject math and science, they interact a lot. Same with like the single subject English and history, but a little bit less. And then we didn't really interact as much with the multiple subject, but sometimes we did. I think in terms of housing, I responded to a random email about random housing, and it ended up being a really cool thing. And I lived with like 4 other people in the cohort. And we were at a professor's house, and we had to like take care of their cats and stuff, but it was like really random, but really awesome. So like, if you're looking for housing, just like maybe you get a random email about housing and like maybe explore that, even though it's a random email. But yeah, it is pretty tough to find housing in this area. And I guess I'll leave it at that.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. I just want to say I do create a Google Sheet, and I put in a lot of openings for housing, and you'd be surprised at how reasonable many of them are. So in this Google Sheet, you can network with other people. So Jocelyn, closing remarks.
Yeah, I can talk to, there was a question about field experience before applying to the MAC program. Like I mentioned, I started teaching the summer after my senior year in high school. I taught middle school English. And then I went on to, I was an academic advisor for ethnic studies. So I feel like college kids and middle schoolers are not too different. So when you can do any age range, it's really helpful. And then I did observation in different age ranges because I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, because a lot of people were trying to steer me away from teaching high school because I was going into it. I started teaching high school when I was 23, so it can be a little bit wonky sometimes. But I didn't I didn't think I fit like being able to teach math because I can't do that to this day. So I did elementary school observations and then I did a local high school because I was working at Starbucks during the MAC program and undergrad, and my friend, her sister was teaching English at a local high school, and that teacher is actually the one that told me about the MAC program. So a little bit of everything. Because education is so broad. You can really pick up the skill of being a solid educator, I think, in any area. I feel like even at Starbucks, I was like learning how to deal with people, and that really helped me with becoming an educator.
Thank you so much, Jocelyn. I appreciate it. Catalina, closing remarks.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and do this really fast. Um, the application process, I did it like in January. I told myself I was gonna do it in December. It was due in January. You just gotta write like a couple essays. Um, it's like any other application. Job search, teaching is a high needs field. We do not have enough teachers because of the work that is required for this job, but you will find one. However, if you want to stay in the Santa Cruz area, good luck because it's a small area, it's an awesome area, so everybody wants the jobs. I'm gonna be honest, the pay and the cost of living aren't that equal in Santa Cruz, so some people commute out or they'll come in. I went to LA because I wanted to get paid more, and my family's in LA, so that was also a big draw, and my partner. But you will find a job, especially in STEM. What was the other question I was going to answer? Um, Field experience, the course load, it's a lot. I came from science, more of like humanities type science. I was not prepared for what we had to encounter. I did not understand most of the readings during the summer because I had never encountered such dense literature, but it is doable. You lean on each other. I hate AI, but I had to use AI to like help me understand what was being said. Um, but like that's what groups and each other and like other people in the programs and your professors are for. And it's intense. These programs take what, like 2 to 3 years, and you're doing it in 1 year. So you be prepared for like a very intense schedule, but it does pay off and it is worth it. And you do learn a lot from that or from the experience. And I think that's it.
Thank you, Catalina. I appreciate it. You can always put any additional remarks you have over in the chat, as I can see some other folks are doing, and I really appreciate that. Kat, closing remarks.
Yeah, just echoing what people have said before. It's all relative from my own personal experience. I actually worked part-time at a restaurant for the first half of the program. And then in the second half of the program, kind of tapered it off just because they had people that they needed as well, which was very convenient. But then also because the program picks up. Kind of like what Catalina was saying, like you're first starting off kind of on the theory end and you're dipping your toes into like, being in the classroom, seeing what's going on with your student teacher or your mentor teacher and otherwise. And then as the year progresses, it gets more and more narrowed down from that theory and from the phrase that I still use to this day, where the ideal meets the real, because you're bringing that into the classroom and seeing where there's those compromises, those clashes and otherwise, because they're going to start handing the reins over to you. In the spring, it gets really intense because you're balancing student teaching and your full course load, and then getting into the things you need for the EdTPA. But I also just want to echo from before as well. It is a high need field, and there's a lot of avenues to get there. Whether you're working at Starbucks, whether you're just picking it up in a high need area. So it really depends. It really means asking yourself, where do you want to work? Where are the kind of people who I want to serve? It is a very service based position. I mean, it is a need. It is a resource. It is an important public good, but you are in service of a community. You are really needing to think about where you want to be. And then also too, like, do you want to commute? Gross. No. So like, where do you want to live? Where do you want to really, enmesh yourself? So it really is a balance of all those things. The application, frankly, I didn't think it was that hard. What was hard for me, because I'm an older person, was balancing all the things like Google Classroom, Drive, all these other things. If you're fresh out of school, you'll probably have an easier time with it. But it's something that you're going to deal with when you're in school as well, is balancing all these different things. You're kind of an IT person, you're kind of like a remediator, you're exercising all these skills. So especially for your application and otherwise, those skills can come from a lot of places. There's definitely, folks from environmental outdoor education, as well as even like summer camps and stuff that are definitely kind of on the pipeline of being teachers. But if you have like no experience, it's probably a good idea to just try and test your waters, as well as what someone said, and kind of figure out what you're wanting to do. You'll get some of that with the program, but just make sure you're taking stock of your own journey, where you want to be, where you want to go. But yeah, the program will help you out with that too. So yeah, there's a lot of different things for different folks, whether it's the housing situation or all the other components there. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Kent. I really appreciate it. Just sort of combining what Kent said with what Catalina said. There are jobs. There is a massive teacher shortage across the nation. However, Kent's absolutely right. It's context. And, places like LA, San Diego, San Francisco, there are places that it's very hard to get a job because there isn't a big need. And some schools are doing layoffs because of declining student enrollment. However, you just have to be a little bit more flexible in your early years of teaching, and you might not be teaching in exactly the place that you're wanting to teach. So, last words from Virginia.
I think I've said a lot. I think so. I just wanted to let you guys know. I'll put my email in the chat if you guys have any more questions. But again, this is a program that is very rigorous. It can be a lot, but I feel like just pacing yourself and knowing that there's a reward at the end, that you will have again a master's, a teaching credential, the experience, and building those connections with your student, with your mentor, with your principal. I would be a little extra and go to like chime in on this staff meetings and like, hey, I'm here as the student teacher, and just kind of making those connections. That really helped me a lot in terms of getting a job at the school I'm at, and knowing other principals, making connections with teachers, learning, just showing that I am interested in learning more. And that helped me as well as now with teachers. Now as I'm a teacher, sorry, it's been a long day. Helped me kind of know how they do CUMES, how they do grading, how they do this, and just even as a teacher right now, I still like to go and observe other teachers here and there and just learn strategies. Go join Facebook groups or TikTok, follow these TikTok teachers, and I'm like, oh, I never thought of doing this, or oh, this can help me with a student who's having behavior issues, or wow, I can do this in Canva and I don't have to use Teachers Pay Teachers to buy this resource. So just finding ways to network, I think that's very helpful. So yes, again, I'll put my email in the chat.
Awesome. My greatest appreciation to each and every teacher on the panel today. I very much appreciate you. I have this incredible warm glow in my heart when I see all of your faces, and I appreciate you and have a lot of admiration for you and what you're doing.